Hello. Hello, hello.
Your Holiness.
Sound okay?
Your Holiness, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Lovely. I am Susan Neiman. I'm a professor of philosophy and director of the Einstein Forum, and I am honored and excited to welcome you to visit us today. I wish I could be welcoming you to Albert Einstein's house, which we are the caretakers of. It is a beautiful, small, and very simple place, and I'm sure you would enjoy its spirit very much. Unfortunately, we are stuck in cyberspace, and so rather than welcoming you to Einstein's house, I wanted to read you something that Einstein himself wrote. The individual feels the futility of human desires and aims and the sublimity and marvelous order which reveal themselves both in nature and in the world of thought. The religious feeling already appears at an early stage of development in many of the Psalms of David and many of the prophets. In the Hebrew tradition, Buddhism contains a much stronger element of this. So this is Albert Einstein recognizing the connections between both science and religion and our different religions. The Einstein Forum was founded 27 years ago in order to recreate the kinds of intense but informal conversations that Albert Einstein held in that house, not only about science, but about philosophy and religion, about politics and social justice. We try to continue that tradition, and we have several members of our boards here with us today, as well as several former members, fellows, young fellows who are invited to live for a period in Einstein's house and do their research. One of them, Shyam Wupaluri from Mumbai, has very kindly worked to organize this meeting. And another, Amber Carpenter, who is a professor of Buddhist and Greek philosophy at Yale NUS College in Singapore, is also with us and has done so much to organize this group today. So I am going to ask Amber to moderate the rest of our conversation and our questions. And thank you once again for offering to deliver a lecture on Buddhism, science, and compassion.
Thank you. I remember very clearly your small country, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. Estonia.
Yes.
Oh. That day, I remember, firstly, I think I was in Sweden, then short stop, Finland, then to Estonia. Beautiful, small country. Although these Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, three small republic, Baltic state, very beautiful. So because it's a small country, but atmosphere is very open. So therefore, the few years, the teaching, mainly Russians in Lithuania. Latvia. So now, today, you see, not physical touch, but you see, through television, you see, we are seeing each other, and here, you see, and we can discuss. So now the subject, the
Buddhism, compassion.
Einstein Forum. Now here, Buddhism, science, and compassion. Now, compassion is all religion carry the message of compassion, because all religion, you see, emphasis warm-heartedness, and then tolerance, contentment, self-discipline. So all these practice is common practice for all religious tradition. In spite philosophical field differences, most of the religion believe creator. Then very idea of creator is like our Father, is infinite love. So we all, if you think seriously, the creator, concept of creator, then we all human beings are brothers, sisters, of children of God. So all religion, you see, those theistic religion, see, the concept of God, of creator, you see, automatically, you see, develop belief. We all human beings on this planet are brothers, sisters, same creation of one God. And then non-theistic religion, mainly from India, all religion, I believe, creation of human being. So human, most precious to human being is loving kindness. Now some scientists also say we are social animal. So biologically, all social animal have the sense of community. So that means, you see, concern of your own community, because your survival entirely depends on the community. Without a community, one single individual human being cannot survive. Not only a human being, but also, you see, animals or birds. You see, each individual's survival or happy life depend on the community. So sense of concern of community is actually the best way to fulfill your own interest. So therefore, the non-theistic religion or theistic religion, all, you see, main message is message of love. Now, today, number of scientists begin to feel the inner peace. And previously, scientists from West you see, not much sort of idea about our inner peace. Now, more and more scientists now really paying more sort of interest, more concern about peace of mind. In order to develop peace of mind, firstly, we should know the destroyer of peace of mind is not external enemy, but your own internal sort of, I think we can say, internal sort of enemy which destroy peace of mind. That's our anger. You see, anger come, then peace of mind automatically disappear. So the antidote of anger is compassion, sense of concern of other. Then automatically you respect or develop sense of concern of all, firstly, all humanity. So therefore, then India's 1,000-year-old tradition, ahimsa, non-violence, not only towards human being, but all other animals. India's 1,000-year-old tradition, don't harm them, ahimsa, non-violence, with sense of karuna, concern of their well-being. So now the scientists also now begin to realize the peace of mind is very important. And basically, we are social animals, as I mentioned earlier. You see, in order to develop peaceful community, sense of concern of our community is the key factor. So now, science and compassion, Buddhism, I think science also, as I mentioned earlier, is now realize peace of mind and warm-heartedness is key factor. Then, including Buddhism, all major religious tradition, you see, as I mentioned earlier, emphasis importance of warm-heartedness or compassion. Then Buddhism, you see, in order to develop peace of mind, in order to develop compassion, and not just faith. You see, Buddha himself, you see, expressed to us, "Oh, my follower, monks, nuns, and lay people should not accept my teaching out of faith, but rather thorough investigation and experiment." So the follower of Buddha in India over 1,000 years, and also in Tibet later, since the 8th century. You see, we follow, you see, very much emphasis, reasoning, investigation. So therefore, the ancient Indian tradition, logic, pramana, logical approach, logical thinking. So that, you see, raise a lot of questions. Then investigate through reasoning, not faith. So even, you see, Buddha's own word, which Buddha used to taught according different, different group with different meditative position. So, you see, we cannot say, oh, this Buddha say, oh, we must accept. No, we must investigate even Buddha's own word, as I mentioned earlier. So, the Indian tradition, Nalanda tradition, even Buddha's own word, when we investigate some contradiction, we have right to reject Buddha's own word. So, like Nagarjuna, or Chinese, usually we say Lungsu Pusa, or these great thinker of Nalanda. You see, they make distinction. A certain Buddha's word we must accept because there is a reason. A certain Buddha's word we cannot accept because, you see, it goes against reason. So that's the Buddhism, particularly Nalanda tradition, is always emphasis investigation. Therefore, Nalanda tradition very much sort of emphasis logical approach. So since 8th century, the Tibetan emperor, although you see it influenced Buddhism in Tibet mainly through China, and since 7th century, some Buddha's most important Buddha statue, you see, from China. So very, very close link. But then, the 8th century, the Tibetan emperor Trisung Tezhen, now he preferred to invite top scholar of Nalanda institution. His name, Shantarakshita. He, great philosopher, great logician. His own writing about logic, about philosophy, we still study. So he introduced in Tibet Buddhism according to Nalanda tradition. So we very much emphasize investigation, and we study logic. So like Indian great logician like Dignac and Dharmakirti, you see, their text we have not only translation, but also we study, we consider from childhood. Like myself, 6-7-year-old, already started, you see, the logical approach, debate. So now we Tibetan, since Shantarakshita, you see, introduced Buddhism, so according to Nalanda tradition. So we, Tibet, over 1,000 years, you see, study logical approach. So now today, a number of scientists, they really, when we discuss about mind through logical approach and matter, like quantum physics, you see, when we also talk, when we discuss about these things, then you see the number of scientists really now showing also the deep appreciation like that. So my own sort of experience now over a few decades, I discuss with scientists in different fields. Of course, the matters, quantum physics, these things. Then also you see about mind, about emotion, how to tackle these things. So the one, I think, unique thing about Nalendra Buddha Dharma, very much so to use logical approach like that. So then, all, as I mentioned earlier, ultimately, you see, religion, you see, in a way, we can say creation of human being. So the main message of all these religion is compassion, karuna. Now today, on this planet, anger or jealousy, fear, I think really create a lot of problem. So external weapons, including nuclear weapon or destroyer of peace. But ultimately, human mind, too much anger, too much fear. Then, you see, utilize human intelligence maximum way to develop destroyer of these weapons. So now, today, I think world, everywhere, you see more and more people really showing denuclearize. Wonderful. And then ultimately, we should think the demilitarized world. Actually, we all, as I mentioned earlier, according to theistic religion, we all brothers, sisters. And non-theistic religion, we all is a part of our community. So the loving kindness on the basis of oneness, the feeling or belief, oneness of 7 billion human beings. So all religion carrying message of compassion, loving kindness. And now more and more scientists also now begin to feel compassion. Loving kindness is very important for our health, for happy family, for happy community. And then, of course, now today, everywhere, people, you see, showing world peace. And then we must think deeper level. Ultimately, without peace of mind, then world peace impossible. So now, inner peace, not thinking anything. No, thinking realistic way. Then you see, realize anger, fear must reduce, and we all are part of human society. We have to live together. Through that way, we can, firstly, inner peace. Then through inner peace, then every human activities are becoming more peaceful and is constructive. So, now questions. We can discuss.
Thank you very much, Your Holiness, and thank you for your time and attention that you're bringing to this. Our first question is from Susan Nyman, the director of the Einstein Forum and professor of philosophy.
Your Holiness, I think and worry about truth and beauty. Beauty is something that seems crucial for healing our souls and creating the inner peace that you urge us to find. Yet some philosophers in my tradition have seen beauty to be in conflict with truths that are very often worse than ugly. Jean-Jacques Rousseau described the arts as weaving garlands of flowers around the chains that bind us. And Theodor Adorno wrote that writing poetry after Auschwitz would be barbaric. My question is, in a world of great suffering, how can we reconcile truth and beauty?
In the past, we human beings not much pay attention about our internal peace. So, you see, if we consider, if you pay more attention about compassion, then entire humanity on this planet, you see, we are same brothers, sisters, as I mentioned earlier. That sort of way of thinking, you see, through education, we can develop, we can promote that real source of inner peace. With inner peace, we can develop peaceful society, peaceful nation, ultimately peaceful world. And then these days I sort of expressing the hygiene of physical. Everybody used to pay attention. Now, more important is hygiene of emotion. So anger, fear, these emotions try to reduce. The counterforce of anger, fear is more compassionate mind. Automatically reduce fear, anger, like that. So therefore, we need the hygiene of emotion. There is a method. We can prove these people who practice these things truly, you see, have the ability when we face problem. Some Tibetan monk who spent in Chinese gulag many years, one my friend, so he 18 years in Chinese gulag, a lot of problem. But eventually he had the opportunity to come to here. Then he, since I know him, so we just was a casual talk. Then he told me during 18 years in Chinese gulag, a few cases, some danger. I thought danger of life, maybe. I asked, what kind of danger? His answer is danger to lose compassion towards Chinese. It's nice. So you see, people like him, you see, consider the practice of compassion is very important. So result, that person's mind very peaceful. So best way to hygiene of emotion. You see, practice this good human, good quality. As I mentioned earlier, scientists now say basically we are more compassionate. So now it is very important to educate people or children. Like children, at young age, they don't care what different races, what different nationality, what different religion, but so long smiling and play together, then you see the strong feeling of truly brotherhood, sisterhood there. Then I think a mistake is when we join education, then too much emphasis, this my nation, my religion, their religion. Too much sort of emphasis, secondary level of differences. So in education, we should emphasize oneness of 7 billion human beings, irrespective of what nation, what religion, so emphasis oneness of human being. So therefore, our education should include education about inner peace. As I mentioned earlier, the hygiene of emotion. That's very important. So education, according Indian tradition, is secular way, not touching with religion. Just it's an academic subject. It's how to build happy family, happy individual, finally happy world through education, without connection with religion. And then any religious sort of tradition which help to promote that, we can bring. But basically, secular education. Like that. So most of the problem which we are facing is essentially, except you see global warming, these are something different. We not our own creation, but many problems our own creation. So they basically nobody want a problem, but due to destructive emotion. So for that, through education, we can reduce these destructive emotion. Then through that way, automatically, the world peace come. I feel like that. So education, key factor. Okay. Yes?
Thank you, Your Holiness. Our next question comes from David Schulman, Professor of Sanskrit and Indian Studies at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. He's an Israeli peace activist and chairman of the board of the Einstein Forum.
Your Holiness, thank you for being with us today. My question is, Socrates, the Greek philosopher, said that no one does evil knowingly. Do you agree? Is there a human urge to self-destruction? Could you tell us about the Buddhist theory of evil?
I agree. As I mentioned earlier, basic human nature is more compassionate because we are a social animal. And because as soon as we're born, we receive the maximum affection from our mother. Then, as I already mentioned, basic human nature more compassionate as a social animal. Now modern, also the knowledge, peace of mind is very important. So therefore, we now through education, we emphasize more about warm-heartedness. Then that very also they close with basic human nature. Then I'm Buddhist monk who study many Buddhist texts. So one idea, basic nature of human being or sentient being, ultimate nature we call pure. So that we call Buddha nature. We all have Buddha nature. Tathagata Garva. Marbe? Or Tathagata Garva. So that is the basis of the theory or belief. We can eventually, through training, to purify our own mind, and eventually this very mind can be Buddha's mind. So we call Buddha nature. So Buddha himself, you see, made very clear all the negative emotion are superficial. The deeper level, basic nature of mind is pure. So therefore, all these superficial destructive emotion can reduce, then eventually can also remove. Okay. Chodi marbe. Oh, as I mentioned earlier, you see, the negative action or sin, you see, ultimately depend on our own motivation. The external activities, out of compassion, you see, some kind of wrathful sort of method, no problem, because ultimate motivation is compassion. So I think you already sort of know, you see, in tantric sort of tradition, there are a lot of wrathful deities. Otherwise, we can say these wrathful deities are very sinful. But you see, their main motivation is helping sentient being, and some sentient being, you see, you need a little bit, or say the wrathful sort of attitude, then can reduce. Sometimes you see, we utilize fear in order to stop your negative actions, like that. So therefore, the sinful, ultimately motivation, the negative emotion, then with negative emotion and including teaching dharma, also you see negative. So actually everything depends on our own sincere, compassionate motivation. Then verbal action, physical action, not much important. So the sin, any sort of negative motivation, anger, jealousy, with that, even teaching is also sinful. So, like me, on high throne, you see, with so thinking my own name or thinking some money, and then the teaching become sinful, like that. So everything depends on our own sort of motivation. Any action out of compassion is positive. Any action out of selfish anger, then including teaching dharma, actually negative, sinful. Okay. Now next.
Okay, thank you, Your Holiness. I will be asking the next question. Buddhism seems very scientific, and you emphasized in your talk the use of logic and evidence in Buddhist thought. Buddhist thought also seems very much like modern physics in the way that it describes the dependent arising of impersonal factors. Looks very much like the scientific worldview that physics describes, especially quantum physics. But the physicists who study reality, their study does not cultivate compassion, and it does not diminish suffering. My question is, why does Buddhist study of reality, of ultimate reality as dependent arising, why does that generate compassion while modern physics doesn't? Can physics learn from Buddhism how to promote compassion through the study of reality? Or are these just two separate fields?
Yes. In Buddhist tradition, although all major religion, you see, the main message is message of love. Then Buddhism also, you see, emphasis importance of the karuna, the compassion. Then you see the opposite or counterforce of compassion is anger. Then the deeper level counterforce of anger is when we develop anger, the object appears something independent, absolute. So that creates also the anger. So now here, Buddhist tradition, one way try to develop a karuna, compassion. And meantime, try to develop sort of certain philosophical views. Things does not exist as appears. Now, quantum physicists, they also, you see, there is big differences, appearance and reality. Appearance objectively exists. Reality, if we go deeper level, or finally mental projection. Now this is quantum physicist. So in any way, there is big differences, appearance and reality. The most of destructive emotion based on appearances. So appearance or enemy, something absolute there. Or friend, absolute, something there. So now that Buddhist philosophy, nothing exists as appears. Appearance, this is something kasa.
Absolute.
Absolute. Or something absolute, which easily develop grasping. In reality, nothing exists as appears. Things appears independently exist, but if we investigate, nothing independently exists. So now here, the Buddhist terminology is interdependency. Patit Samapant. You see, everything also the interdependent. For example, now enemy is ultimately your own mental creation. Today's enemy, once your mental attitude change, and tomorrow become best friend, but the same person, isn't it? So therefore, now today's your best friend, and do something, and next day become your enemy. So these, you see, mental projection and the interdependency. So now the philosophical view, you see, things does not exist independently. Everything interdependent. That is in Buddhism in general, and particularly like Nagarjuna, as I mentioned earlier, the Chinese usually call Longsu Pusa. So he emphasizes, you see, everything interdependent. Nothing should also exist as appears. So everything appearance, something objectively independent exists. The reality, nothing independently exists, everything interdependency. So that understanding also the direct opposite to grasping things independently exist or objectively exist. So now combination, understanding everything exists due to many different factors. So enemy is in a way our own creation, because things are interdependent. Then another aspect, practice or familiarize compassion. So these the wisdom side, nothing independently exists. The method side emphasize all are our brothers, sisters. So these two things is a very powerful sort of method, is to reduce the negative emotion. And then now modern scientists now begin to pay more attention about our inner feeling, these things, at a deeper philosophical field. So now, here, you see, according to my own experience, a lot of research we can do. So since the Nalanda tradition, they're very much reasoning and ultimately related with our inner mind, inner feeling. So a lot of things to discuss with modern scientists. So now, yes, certainly, as I mentioned earlier, now some scientists already is mentioning we are a social animal. Any social animal is the basic sort of factor which bring together, that is the compassion. So now, time sort of changing. So we have a lot of also the facility to discuss these things. In ancient time, in the past also in the past, more or less isolate. Now, today, you see much more sort of opportunity to discuss. So within my life, my own lifetime, last few decades, you see, I have sort of serious discussion with scientists. Also, I learn from them. So now, in our monastic institution, mainly in South India, about 10,000 monk students. Oh, so there I already sort of introduce the Buddhist, also the monk student should study science. So one our college among the big monastery already developed also some small center for science research. So we further develop. So like that. Oh, interdependence. Oh. As I mentioned earlier, you see two parts. One, practice compassion, warm-heartedness. One, the wisdom side, the enemy, so-called enemy or friend. You see, these grasping emotion very much depend on another sort of part of mind which believe independently exist. Now that usually we call anything, as I already mentioned, anything you see interdependent. So combine wisdom side and method side, you see, to reduce our negative emotion. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. But, the method side, I think, common for all religious people. And the wisdom side, there are differences. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Our next question is from Shyam Wupaluri, who is the current Einstein Forum Fellow.
Your Holiness, Tashi Daleg, in the context of scientific method, you often have said that one should not conflate not finding something and finding its non-existence. I wonder how this applies to karma. My question is, given your conversations with leading scientists, what are your latest views about the notion of karma and mental causality within the scientific context? Will we be able to explain it scientifically in the near future?
So, karma means, karma means action. So the action momentarily change or cease. Action momentarily cease. But then during verbal action, physical action, or mental action, you see, make some kind of imprint in our mind. So, you see, that carry life after life. even I think eons, you see, these imprint in our mind, which imprint of karma, action, you see, some kind of imprint in our mind. So even eons, now these, you see, remain there. So even, I think we can say, reach Buddhahood also, you see, through positive action. It's imprint in our mind. Gradually, all negative emotion reduce, positive emotion increase through action. So finally, we become Buddha. All these are, you see, the basis of the concept of karma, action, like that. You see, more discussion with scientists. I personally feel, you see, more sort of conviction about Nalanda tradition. You see, those masters, they thoroughly investigate and then wrote text. So now, today, when we discuss with the different scholars or including scientists, you see, those the small matter like world, some ancient Indian masters say world flat. I already rejected. And sun and the moon, more or less same level. Nonsense. So among the Buddhist scholars, the Chandrakirti now mentioned, you see, he believed, you see, very subtle level of philosophical views. So he expressed some of the Indian master. You see, they already rejected these sort of thing. So he dismissed these Indian master, some of these Indian master, including Bosuband, like that. So I'm a student of Chandrakirti. So I believe Chandrakirti's word. So he already rejected some of senior Indian Buddhist master. So in ancient time, it happened. So nowadays also, you see, we can reject some of the Indian masters sort of, what's the view. No problem. So, so important is more research. So the scientist, genuine scientist, you see, also we can discuss thoroughly. So we can go continuously. Okay. Okay. Then that kasa maungba terzo chenri ki lamnyan drishe. Then drisong ta kamare. Oh. Okay. Now next.
Thank you, Your Holiness. We have two more questions. The next one is from Carrie Harrison, Professor of English at Brooklyn College, novelist and playwright, and a member of the board of the Einstein Forum.
Your Holiness, we here in today's America are very painfully divided. We're in great need of compassion. My question is, can you advise us of a practical way to apply this healing spirit to a bitterly angry nation?
Oh,
I think
as I mentioned earlier, now these days, I expressing in education field, we should, how say the idea how to develop peace of mind, how to reduce anger, jealousy, a sense of competition. Competition, two kinds. Positive competition, you see, you want to be top, and then to serve more other people, to show the enthusiasm to further sort of develop. That since that kind of sort of the competition, sense of competition is positive. Then another sort of sense of competition, in order to reach top, they create a problem to other. Now that kind of sort of sense of competition is negative. So there are, ultimately, I always say, emphasis the importance of concept of oneness of 7 billion human beings. We have to live together. So the sense of brotherhood, sisterhood is something very important. So now, as I mentioned earlier, now scientists also now have the sort of view. We are a social animal. We all have ultimately we have the sense of respect other. Then through research or through practical, more self-centered, narrow-minded people, much more worry, much more anxiety, and more anger, more open mind. Even you see, so-called your enemy, you see, be best teacher of you. The Shantideva mentioned your enemy is best teacher. You can learn many deeper experience, such as forgiveness, these things. And then also, you see, genuine loving kindness towards your enemy is genuine love. Loving kindness towards your friend may be much mixed with attachment. So, therefore, when you have some feeling of sort of kindness, and you should think your enemy, then you feel same sort of kindness feeling. That's genuine kindness. It's a kindness feeling towards your friend, or maybe mixture with attachment. So therefore, as I mentioned earlier, Shantideva mentioned the enemy is your best teacher.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our final question, Your Holiness, comes from Nare Shalakpaye, Professor of History at the European University in St. Petersburg and a former Einstein Fellow.
Your Holiness, thank you. Can it be right to put a child into the world, given the presence of so much suffering? On the one hand, given the environmental crisis and overpopulation, another human being might add to the general suffering. On the other hand, if the child grows up in imperfect conditions, inadequate parents, difficult surroundings, the child itself may suffer. What does Buddhism tell us if we want to exercise compassion? Thank you, Your Holiness.
As I already mentioned, loving kindness or compassion is a all major religious real message. That very much related with basic human nature. More compassionate mind, the human being, physically or since mentally very healthy, calm. So physically also you see get a benefit. Always to say, including your heart beating very slow. There's too much anxiety, too much anger. You see, physical level also very harmful. So usually you see doctors say, need rest. Rest means not only just lay down, but mentally. You may physically lay down, but mentally a lot of sort of anxiety, a lot of anger, not just to rest. So restful means mentally peace. So now the practice of the compassion, forgiveness, these although these come from religious text, but we should consider these are academic subject, not religious subject. For example, some you see Buddhist text, a lot of sort of explanation, these things for next life or eventually for Buddhahood. That's exclusively for Buddhist. But generally, it's a lot of reason. You see, these you should consider as an academic subject. Now, I think these days I also telling people the 8th century one great Indian scholar as well as practitioner, Kasa Shivola, Shantadeva, his one writing, there are a few books, but one writing, the Kasa Junju, Ka Bodhisattva Chaya Avatara, about 10 chapters. You see, 6th chapter, very much emphasis the negative effect out of anger. The 6th chapter very much mentioned that. Then 8th chapter, the self-centered attitude, very harmful. So altruism is key factor for happiness. So these two chapters, really, whether believer or non-believer, whether Buddhist or non-Buddhist, doesn't matter. But these are, you see, how to think about self-centered attitude is the key factor to develop inner disturbances. Then, 6th chapter, how bad anger. So these books, this book, since I received the oral transmission, you see this book, I really experienced a lot of my thinking change. Now these days also, occasionally, when I have some sort of leisure time, you see, read this book, and then combine with the Dhautawa, Jandakirti's sort of book. So these books, wonderful. you see, to transform my mind. So not thinking next life or heaven, simply, you see, day-to-day life, my mind, how to develop peaceful mind. Like that. There nangshun ne chamzi ninji lagdar tang drewe. So firstly, you see, ka kodo demin dugo ka
kanye mabu shiwe ka tando bu teba shita susu kiye chiwa ina anya di kanye nembe jang chiwa chi marwe nangshun di tatang khande yana.
Yes, now there's one problem, one source of problem. Human population increasing. So this, we should look more realistic way. So this planet, also the food and these things, there's a limitation. And then on top of that, the global warming, very serious. After a few decades, most of the river may dry. So we have to think more holistic way. So including human population. So with also a certain reason, and then also I think the future generation, too many people come or will face difficult. So out of sense of concern, some birth control, I think very relevant, like that. So you see, related with thinking wider also the problem, like that. The best thing, more monk, more nun, that's the best way, birth control. Thank you. Finished.
And it is my honor to thank you, Your Holiness, in the name of the Einstein Forum. I would also like to give a special thanks to Amber Carpenter and Shyam Upaluri, former and present Einstein Fellows, for organizing this talk. I would like to thank your tech team for making sure that this broadcast could literally span the globe. And also, I gather there are 13 translators who I cannot see, but have been simultaneously translating this talk into 13 languages. But most of all, I would like to thank Your Holiness for honoring us with this discussion at the Einstein Forum in Brandenburg, Germany. Perhaps fortune will permit us to welcome you sometime here in real life.
Thank you. I really feel great honor. You say some institution, you see, have a connection with Einstein. So I have deep admiration about Einstein. So I'm very happy. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Again, see you again sometime in the future. Okay. So my physical sort of visit Estonia, I don't know too far. But through use modern technology, then distance is not much matter. You see, we can discuss. Okay. Ka.
Germany, so the Einstein Forum is the combat.
Oh.
So Germany.
In Germany.
No.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Holiness.
Thank you. And especially, it's Germany, Deutschland. Since my childhood, we do not make distinction Austria and Germany. So since my childhood, I developed a very close the relation to Deutschland people, Ashnader, and then Hara, 70 years in Tibet. Hara, my first English teacher. So we always see also the teasing, or joking like that. So Mr. Hara is my first English teacher. His English broken, so naturally his student also broken English. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. The Mr. Hara, you see, till his last day, he always used to feel very, very warm feeling towards Tibetan. So wonderful. Thank you.
And we have understood you despite Mr. Hara's teaching. So